All right. Well, thank you, everybody. My name is Lori Cohen. I am the founder and executive director of the Beagle Alliance. I'm just thrilled that you're all here because this is, you know what, we have great town halls, but this, of course, is a pretty special one. John Raymer, executive director of Kindness Ranch Sanctuary. I feel like if I call him executive director of Kindness Ranch Sanctuary, it's like a smaller title than really the work that he's done, but that is his title. And it's pretty special because we've worked together and he's just done so much for animals in research, rehomed so many different animals, different species. And he's also blessedly the Beagle Alliance partner and my personal friend. And it is really, really just an honor, a privilege, a thrill to have John Raymer here. So I'm going to leave the floor to him, even though I've got 1,000 questions. But John, thank you so very much for being here.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm even happier to say that after our very first town hall, where everybody was so disappointed that Uno didn't show up, he is available today. So he can make his guest appeararance.
Uno is here.
He is here.
He's not in Washington.
His wife is right behind me.
His wife, Tammy, is right behind.
Thank you for having me back. This is my second time doing this with you. The first one was a lot of fun. I believe I was traveling at the time and was stuck in a hotel room with terrible hotel Wi-Fi. But, over the years, Lori and the Beagle Alliance and Kindness Ranch have developed this phenomenal relationship that is very community focused and removes all of the ego and the independence almost in animal rescue. And we kept our relationship kind of secret for a number of years because we didn't know exactly how we were going to work together, how we were going to navigate the super secretive field of animals and research. There's a lot of facilities in the States that I work with that don't want me to release animals to other rescue groups, and especially ones that advocate to end animal research. Kindness Ranch has always tread this balancing act of being super agnostic when it comes to our public view on animal research. My personal view is, of course, I want to see it ended, but my public view is I have to work with these facilities so they trust me to release animals to me. And Lori has respected that and assisted us when we've gotten a little overpopulated. Kindness Ranch has been super fortunate in the fact that we've grown faster than we ever anticipated. My very first year as director at Kindness Ranch, we were able to rescue and place 33 cats and dogs into homes, which at the time, it felt like a pretty large number. And then last year, I looked back and we were able to place 544 dogs alone and over 70 cats into homes, which, it's humbling and overwhelming. My staff is constantly asking me to slow down, but of course we're not going to. And that was where Lori came in, because I needed a trusted partner that I could release some of these overflow numbers to. And the Beagle Alliance has such a phenomenal way of functioning and handling these sensitive situations in Canada that it just made absolute sense. And I'm just thrilled to be able to call her a friend and have a partner in the North that I know I can call on, and she'll be there, with a smile on her face and a little bit of nervous energy on hoping that she can get back across the border with all of the dogs. So, um,
John, you're being really kind about my chaotic energy when I show up, but thank you.
well, it is Kindness Ranch, Lori.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you have no choice but to be nice to me, to live up to your name.
And
Well,
I want to give a special shout out real quick to a mutual team member that's joining us tonight with Chelsey.
yes.
And Chelsey and her company, Command Canine and the Keeper and Kin project, have been a phenomenal outside resource in helping our supporters and adopters understand the special needs of these dogs that come out of research. There's there's a lot of very well-intentioned, well-meaning people that want to take these dogs in and just shower them with love and think that it's going to cure all that ails them. And some of these dogs have very severe PTSD. They have hidden issues, whether it's mental or medical, depending on what they're coming out of, that a lot of people just aren't really prepared. They don't have those tools in their toolbox to overcome some of those things. And Chelsey, I don't remember exactly when she was introduced to the world of research beagles, but she dove in head first. And within 24 hours of her visiting Kindness Ranch the first time, you could see the transformation in her eyes through the tears that she shed when she saw all of the beagles that were out here and the needs that they had. And through a series of mutual friends, she was introduced to a number of research organizations and has just jumped right in offering her expertise and really not just improving the lives of the beagles, but the adopters that take them in as well. And it goes to show that the people that are in this industry for the right reasons, which is the animals, can come together as a community. That doesn't have to be one organization that handles everything. It can be a combined expertise and the knowledge of, I guess, the pack in one way. I don't know if that's the proper term, but just all of us coming together with our own addition to this massive equation and shining some light on these wonderful animals and getting them out of research and in homes where they can thrive. There's a lot that we couldn't accomplish on our own, but are accomplishing as a team. And I'm just grateful to be a small part of that.
Agreed. And before I unwittingly or unknowingly ask Chelsey to speak in a minute, I agree. And John, everything you say is exactly it. And of course, in Canada, we had no choice but to be an advocacy organization on top of a rescue, because most people in Canada don't know that animal testing happens here. So we just took that on as something that we felt we had to do. But of course, that comes with the responsibility of walking a very thin line, a thin line that I think many of you who are here with us today realize is happening right now with the St. Joseph's dogs in Ontario. We'll talk about a bit about that later, because I want to focus on John and our teamwork with Chelsey. And but you know, it is a very thin line to walk when you are attempting to have a relationship with the laboratories and work with them, and at the same time advocate for what might be animal-free science, because they view you as a threat, and we don't want to be viewed as a threat with the facilities, because we want to get the dogs that are in there out, of course. But that said, as John said, our team that has come together fundamentally believes that there is not one organization or individual that can take on what the animals need. The only way that we can spread awareness, help the animals is if we pool our collective expertise. And I think that this is a different way of moving. Would you? And John, I think, I mean, I would love for you to chime in, Chelsey, but I think that this is a different way because a lot of rescues have gone about for no other reason other than just thinking they're in this alone, or thinking that, you know, they need to corner the market on dogs or credit or whatever it is. But I think that we're going to turn the tables on this. We have to collaborate to make a difference for animals. We must. And if you don't latch on to that, I think you're going to be a little bit left behind. I think we have to work together in the name of the animals. But that said, I want to shut up because I tend to talk a little bit too much when I'm holding the town hall for others to talk. But Chelsey, thanks. Love you. Like, really, you are such an incredible addition to the team, and the collaboration that is helping, you know, these animals, as we say, go from lab to love. So I'm going to put you on the spot and just say, like, unmute yourself, man.
Well, thanks. That was quite an introduction from both of you. I really appreciate it. I was ready to just listen today, but no, I appreciate it. I really do. And yeah, I am loving our collaboration, you know, I've been working with Research Beagles for a few years now and got connected with John last fall sometime. And like he said, went to the ranch, and it's the most Research Beagles I've seen at one time. I've usually worked with the adopters who have 1 or 2 dogs. So that was, of course, incredible. And as I'm sure everyone here knows, once you get into this world and you see these dogs and you interact with them, like, you can't pull yourself out of it. So my background I own a dog training company here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we do a lot of behavioral training, which is how I got connected with the pieces of the adopters, and then, you know, through the rest of the link up to John and Lori. So I am so blessed to be here. I am happy. And when I first met John and Lori, of course, as they said, we all want to connect with the right people in this industry who are really here for the dogs. And I call it a chain. I don't know what you said, John, the analogy, but I call it the chain. And we're all links of this chain, from, you know, the labs to the advocators, the people getting the dogs out of the labs, the sanctuaries, the fosters, the adopters. And I am just a link of the chain to help the behavioral understanding, translating the dog to the owner and the owner to the dog, I guess, if you will. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and doing more for these dogs. I think that there are a lot of people on the dog side, but there's also not a lot of people doing this, you know, like I still talk to people every day who don't even know we test on animals when it's right here in Charlotte, North Carolina also. So anyone that we can get on our side to advocate for these dogs and do the right thing by them, that's what I'm about. So these two here are fantastic to be with, and I'm happy that we're all partners in taking this on together.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, we get to meet in person. We haven't even met in person a week and a half.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, we're gonna meet in person. It's awesome.
I know. I feel like we talk several times a week, and we're like, can't wait to meet you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
John, so really, John, Freedom Fetchers.
Nice
What's
shirt,
up?
Chelsey.
Yeah, yeah, nice shirt, Chelsey.
Thought it was
Yeah,
support.
I better send you a shirt. Like, how are you? Well, yeah, what's up? You need to wear half Kindness Ranch, half Beagle Alliance. We might
I know,
I
will. I'll
yeah,
do
we
it
might
all
have
the
to make
time.
a 50-50 shirt.
Absolutely.
John, Freedom Fetch. Well, there's Cammie.
Here's Cammie.
There's Cammie. Freedom Fetchers. Tell us about the NIH. So, you know, Canada, you know, we hear obviously a lot of what's going on in the US. And so we do know that the NIH decided to shut down their campuses, dog testing on their campus. Like, fill us in on the NIH Freedom Fetchers. Let's see, tell us where you're at and your involvement, because you and let's like lay it on the line. As much as you say that you're just the place that places these dogs, because you have done it in such, and living up to the name of Kindness Ranch, because you have done it in such an incredibly kind, compassionate, and collaborative way, you have landed, maybe unwittingly, in the political world without trying. I mean, I think Uno's running for office. Like, he might actually win the presidency.
Well, he's the leader of this house, that's for sure.
Tell us about the NIH and Freedom Fetchers.
So, Operation Freedom Fetchers, I just did a social media post today talking about how this, unless there's a more humane, cost-effective way of doing these international rescues, this is going to be our last one, because I want to, in full transparency, our donors, they didn't sign up for international rescues. I was asked to assist with this one, and I jumped at the opportunity because of the fact that these dogs are linked to American research dog breeding facilities and American research facilities in Shanghai. And regardless of what the dogs were used in, there are dogs. They didn't ask to be born and shipped to China. And I found that it was morally required of me to do everything I could to get these dogs back to the States. And working with the facilities in China, the estimated cost that was to be split between us and another rescue that was helping out called Run to the Rescue, the estimated cost was going to be between $32,000 and $36,000 to get the dogs here, which is a lot of money. And breaking that down to the cost per dog, it seemed attainable. And then, unfortunately, what happened with us is all of the federal contracts that are in place to prevent diseases from coming into North America from high-risk countries like China, they have to go through a quarantine period in Shanghai and get vaccinated there. And then the cost of the airfare, which ended up, we were able to negotiate $1,400 per dog for airfare, which put the cost just for airfare at $65,800. And then when the dogs landed in Los Angeles 3 days ago, we got our first group of 10 dogs. There was a private for-profit company that is one of 2 CDC licensed quarantine facilities on the entire West Coast. And for 10 dogs to spend 12 and a half hours in quarantine and get vaccinated, they charged us $8,535. And we still have 4 more trips to make to go pick up these dogs. And at $8,500 per trip just for them to sit in a quarantine period, our donors' money, yes, it is being spent to get these dogs, but it could be better utilized and be more effective for the record numbers of dogs that we have coming out of labs in the States. Yeah. And there's been a lot of sleepless nights recently looking at how all of this money is going out. And I did some quick math in my head, and it turned out that if we were going to recoup the cost when this is all said and done, we would have to adopt out these dogs at $3,000 per dog to cover our expenses. which I don't know about anybody viewing currently, but that would price them out of my house. And I know that I'm going to take good care of my dogs. And I'm sure that anybody that would want to adopt these dogs would take good care of them too. But that's just an absurd amount for a dog that's coming with a troubled past and unknown medical needs in the future. In going back to the NIH side of this, I did accidentally end up being thrown into the middle of the political storm that is happening around here. It's kind of difficult for me to go into too much detail right now because of the NDAs that I'm under, but there are groups such as a fantastic friend of mine, Justin Goodman at the White Coat Waste Project. I've known him for over 10 years, and he and I have worked together on a great deal of the political side of things. We first teamed up in securing the release of 27 squirrel monkeys from an FDA research facility where they were forcing these squirrel monkeys to be exposed to cigarette smoke. And Jane Goodall helped us with the PR on that. And it was an amazing, amazing release to get those monkeys out of a federal lab. And what made us work so well together was that we wanted to just end the taxpayer funded animal research, because most taxpayers in the US aren't aware that they're funding $30 and $40 million research projects that we're torturing monkeys and beagles and cats in. And if they were aware of it, chances are they wouldn't really want to support it. 98% of the households in the US consider their cats and dogs to be family members, and nobody's going to sign up a family member to be thrown into a box for leishmaniasis testing or diesel exhaust exposure or something like that. And with him and I being able to team up on so many wonderful things, it opened the door for a lot of discussions with our current administration on why are taxpayers funding this research. And Uno, my boy, has been a fantastic ambassador. We've met everybody from the Speaker of the House down to, everybody on both sides of our aisle down here, from the far left to the far right. And regardless of political perspectives, every single person that Uno has met, they've thrown themselves on the floor and just wanted to play with my dog. And it's having that human moment and that human interaction with people that it's disarming, and it helps start the conversation. And regardless of if they remember a damn thing that I ramble on about, they're going to remember that interaction with a research survivor, and it'll affect their choices.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Justin has gone on to take a much more all or nothing approach, and White Coat Waste has kind of started this slight public shaming campaign at the NIH that I've had to distance myself from, because I'm actively working with people in that department on what the requirements are for when these dogs come out. And if I jump on a public shaming campaign, I'm not going to say on Twitter or X that, Bhattacharya is the devil and that he needs his children taken away from him, and then go have a meeting with him and ask him to give me his dogs.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you, John. This is where this is our world right here.
It's a super, super delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
And, I've gotten a fair amount of experience with these contract research organizations, or what we all refer to as CROs, that they have no motivation whatsoever to give us their dogs. There is no reason that they want to give us their dogs or cats. One veterinarian told me last year that it costs them $5 per animal to euthanize these animals when they're no longer needed in research, and it costs them $160 to fill out the health certificates for them to travel back to the ranch.
Yeah.
And when you boil it down to them looking at their profit margin and their costs, why would anybody want to spend that much extra money? So that's where we come in, and our donors know that we cover that cost for the health certificate. We cover the cost of all of the transport. And when we position ourselves that we will take these animals off their hands, and they're even saving the $5 to euthanize, they're a little bit more motivated to at least listen to me and see what we have to offer. And it was kind of that got me into the federal government side of things and opened those doors. And hopefully, if all goes according to plan, in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll all start to see a pretty considerable flood of animals coming out of NIH campuses and contract facilities across the country.
Which is amazing because they trust you, and just thank you for that. And I want to touch on a couple things because I think we do. I mean, we have some similarities in Canada and we have some differences in Canada. And of course, we're walking the same thin line that I want to touch on in a minute, that I didn't think I'd touch on in this meeting, but I'm only going to because of what is currently going on in Canada, which of course, when we asked John to be here, these things weren't going on. This kind of developed, and it's kind of perfect timing that we're having this conversation with John because he's been knee deep in it. And now we're a little bit knee deep in it in Canada, except that, but just as you say, that the facilities had no incentive to give you the dogs. Well, in Canada, the facilities have no incentives to release the dog. There's no, I mean, in the US, there's federal laws, that do address animals in research. In Canada, there is no federal laws that are protecting animals in research in any way. In fact, even the most recent issues that went on in the laboratory in Ontario, nobody necessarily broke the law in terms of the research, in terms of them not releasing or rehoming. There's no laws that they have to rehome. I think that if there was any legal action against them, it would be animal cruelty outside of the actual research piece. We don't know how that's going to play out. But this is, I mean, we are in a unique situation. These are not your regular rescue dogs. Nobody knows about these dogs. It's very hidden. People ask us all the time, could you, with our fosters, and this is a very, very, obviously it's a legitimate and valid question. How do we know that the dogs are going to be, what are their medical issues? What happened in the laboratory? I mean, John, you and I can state that we're not privy to that information for the most part. For the most part, we are not told what is being done in the laboratory. Nobody legally has to disclose to us what testing they do. So we take the dogs sight unseen. We have no idea how they're going to react. We really, it's like a triage situation where we take them, deal with it. Of course, now we have Chelsey on the team working with the behavioral, but it really is a unique rescue situation. And so I just want to, I'm going to throw this at you, John, because, and I want to touch on the other things because you're having a huge gala, and I want to talk a little bit about our partnership and how amazing that's been. But since we're here, so we have a laboratory that was exposed by a whistleblower. Treatment of the animals was horrible beyond the point of research. So whatever we think about the harm that goes on in research, there was extra on top of that, extra harm. I do believe the individuals who were involved are no longer working there, at least the head person. But now we're asking for the dogs to be released, and the dogs, the animal advocacy organization that broke this story and brought it to light they are asking that the dogs are released to us as the experts, which is very humbling and a great responsibility and something that we know that we're ready for. But of course, everyone wants the dogs to be released yesterday. It's and of course, because it's a heartbreaking story, we want the dogs out. We want to care for the dogs. We want them in homes. We all want that. But John, you and I have, worked with laboratories and dealt with the world of patients that we've had to have, which doesn't necessarily mean that the dogs are being harmed further. But I just want to ask you to speak a little bit about that and the processes, because right now what's happening is we have a lot of panicked people thinking the dogs are having continual harm. And look, we don't know what's going on in the lab. We're not going to pretend we know. We're going to have to go on face value. We personally have an open communication with them. But as an expert that you are, let's talk about the fact that sometimes for the welfare of the animals, as much as we want them out now, sometimes they do have to be cared for by the veterinary and animal care staff at a laboratory prior to being released. Can you talk about that a little bit? I would love for people to have a little bit more insight on that.
I'm going to preface everything that I'm about to say with the fact that, to the best of my knowledge, this is, if not the first, one of the first times that a testing facility in Canada is releasing more than just a dog or two. And with that and your ability to have open communication with the people that are actively caring for the dogs, you're, in my opinion, in one of the few instances that time is going to be your greatest benefit on this. With the public eye on this, everything has to go smoothly and according to plan to make it successful. And if we, I say we, if anybody there were to rush this, if a single dog is a flight risk and escapes and gets hit by a car, it's going to jeopardize all future releases of research animals throughout Canada. If a single foster home ends up not being a shining example of what a foster home should be, it'll jeopardize all future releases. Everything on this has to run as close to perfect as possible. And right now, with the dogs being cared for in place, that allows the time for proper vetting of all fosters. It allows the time for greater personality profiles of the dogs to be developed to place them into accurate fosters. There's so much that is taking more time than we feel it should, but taking the amount of time that it deserves. And when you work with these facilities and you have that dialogue, you have to value that and make sure that, going in and picking up the dogs that we got from Envigo, when I went onto that property for the very first time, I was accompanied by U.S. Marshals, attorneys, the Department of Justice, and they were afraid that I was going to go in there and start bad-mouthing the people on that property, not knowing that I had had a relationship with them before. But they said something to me that kind of rang home. And again, it goes back to that humanizing moment that I'm there to pick up dogs. The people that I'm interacting with, it's their last day of work.
Yeah.
And I was kind of humbled by that, because whether I agree with what they're doing or not, they legal doesn't make it moral, in my opinion, but they were doing a job. They were there making a living, providing for their family, and I was there as an active part of taking that away from them. Now, if the people that were abusing those dogs in the hospital up in Canada are no longer there, that's probably for the best. But chances are there are a handful of people in there that they want to make sure that those dogs get out of there safely and thrive and move into the rest of their lives outside of research. And we need to try and trust that those people truly want that and allow that process the time it needs to be done correctly. There's a lot of people that'll jump up and down and say that they want the dogs out right now. And like I've mentioned earlier, a lot of well-intentioned people that just want to take a dog home and love it and know that love will make everything better. And that's unfortunately not the case with research animals most of the time. It's a lot of work and it takes some experienced people. And that's where partnerships with Chelsey and other organizations come into play, because I've had dogs that, we have 1,200 acres here. There's all kinds of room for dogs to run and play, but there's a lot of dogs that we get that are overstimulated by suddenly interacting with so many other dogs that do better in foster homes. And that's where Lori and Beagle Alliance come in, that one-on-one attention in foster homes. Some of these dogs might come out of that hospital and just not do well with isolation, and they need to be housed with other dogs. We're not going to know. But fortunately, you have enough time on your hands that you can properly vet all of these animals and get them the care that they need.
Yeah. And they're getting care now, we like to believe. And I so appreciate that thoughtful response, John, because it is our experience. But when people have high emotion, and hey, I understand the high emotion. In Canada, most people didn't know that dogs were even being used. And I don't want to dismiss and Chelsey, I'll get to you in a minute, but I don't want to dismiss the millions of animals used in testing in Canada each year. This is not a dismissal of those animals. However, the dogs, no matter what we think is right, wrong, or otherwise, the dogs speak to us in a different way. They live in our homes, they live in our hearts. We grieve their loss as family members and best friends. They sleep in our beds. We have birthday parties for them. We take them on vacation. It's whether it is, as I say, whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise, the dogs will spark the change for animal testing because of where they are situated in our hearts and minds. And this has struck a very huge chord with the people in Canada, because nobody knew testing was going on in Canada, let alone the very animals that we sleep with, live with, love, and care for. And this is a pivotal moment in Canadian history in animal welfare. And I mean, we all just do our best, but I'm not going to lie, it's scary. I don't want to do it wrong. Like, I'll just be honest with you guys. I'm just a person. B is here on the team of Beagle Alliance. Brenda's here, who travels with us to get the dogs. Like, we don't want to do it wrong. We want to do it right. And we
Which is why you're doing it.
Well, I appreciate that, John, but also we have been in the trenches with animal care workers, and I simply will not paint everyone with the same brush. I just 100% believe that the people who do wrong are in the minority. They just end up being the loudest. But we, including the people in the laboratories who care, we need to be the loudest. And we need to believe that there are far more people who are caring for the animals than we think. And we need to focus on that and trust on that and have faith in that.
Agree.
Chelsey?
Yeah, I want to just speak a little bit on like behalf of the dog behaviorally and hopefully give people a little bit of assurance that while these dogs are still where they are, they're not immediately transitioning out of that situation. Um, when 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 they were in the worst of the worst there, it would likely be a very high stress situation, where that's where PTSD and trauma like would take place, and moving them immediately from there into a brand new big world is adding so much more trauma and PTSD to them. So thinking about it, you know, as devil's advocate, if you will, and I'm an optimist by nature, having them forcibly being kept in that facility and not immediately given to the Beagle Alliance likely is a good thing behaviorally, because they're hopefully out of harm's way and they're into a decompression state where they are letting a lot of that stress and trauma come to a more neutral standpoint, and then we can get them into the foster. So it's not a big stress and a big stress, and then they're, you know, making really bad mistakes, and you know it's harder for us to kind of reprimand that. So if we think about it that way, that they're not in harm's way, they're not getting extra stress added to them, they are getting to decompress, they are getting to like get back to homeostasis as much as they know, before we add on the new stress of the brand new world they've never known. Absolutely, like that is like likely very, very good for them to be there. And whether that's happening that way systematically or not, that's what I would like to believe.
I appreciate that. And that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for shining a light on that. And it just, I think that, you know, it's interesting because here we are and we're, you know, the whole town hall is, you know, John, and I wanted to talk about everything going on with Kindness Ranch and all the incredible things that of course Kindness Ranch is doing and has done, and to catch up after years. You know, when we first met with John, it was like a meet and greet, and now here we are years later as friends and partners. It's like such a progression, an incredible progression. But I just, you know, I can't not address the elephant in the room, which is exactly what is going on in Canada. And of course, because we are partners with John and Chelsey, obviously, I'm not going to think that I know everything. The Beagle Alliance isn't going to think that they corner the market and knowing every little detail. So I'm always going to chat with the people I trust. And so it's just, we had to address this, I think, because of both of your expertise and the fact that we've done this for such a long time now and have seen, you know, so many instances. And I think we've seen a lot of heartbreak. Hey, John, like a couple of years ago, you know, we were on our way. We were leaving in 48 hours to go get 10 dogs
I
from.
remember.
Yeah, I know what you know I'm going to say. And we were leaving. We were packed. Brenda and I were ready to go. And they were 1-year-old beagles, I recall. And John and I had the conversation. We were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, how are we getting 1-year-old beagles out? They're going to live the rest of their lives. Like they've got so much time. It was such a unprecedented age to have them. And 2 days before, they were sold to another laboratory. And those are the behind the scenes things that happen that we don't always share because it's so overwhelming. We don't want to discourage people. But at the same time, that's the truth of what happens when you're dealing, I think, with these dogs in research. You need to be able to walk this very thin line of holding the joy of what happens when they're released and how blessed you are to get to see that, and holding the grief of those that are not the ones that do that. But you can't let that grief drag you down, or else you wouldn't be able to move forward in the joy that is the ones that you see released. It's a real thin line, and one that you can't let yourself tip over into the ditch, right? Or else you wouldn't be able to continue. And of course, we all want to be able to continue. So we're at, well, I'm going to say we're almost at an hour in, and you know, here we are in this in-depth world. Let's lighten it up a little bit. And if you guys are okay going past the hour mark, we will definitely do Q&A. But let's lighten it up a bit because, you know, Kindness Ranch is having a gala in October.
Our first ever.
Amazing, in Denver, Colorado. I want John to talk a little bit about that, but Chelsey and I are like Chelsey and I get to speak there. So, you know, if you haven't heard enough from what we have to say, we're going to get to speak to that. So tell us about that, John. Tell us about how that's like exciting.
It's very exciting. You know, my board of directors, I have kids that work in the music industry, and my board was constantly hounding me to like call in a favor with some of their friends and get like John Mayer or Ariana Grande to come do a benefit concert for us, which is, you know, very pie in the sky and easier said than done. But through a strange series of events, I ended up meeting this phenomenal vocalist, Sid Reese, who was a semi-finalist on The Voice, and she came out and visited the ranch. And for those that haven't been here, we have this amazing 26,000 square foot indoor riding arena that has amazing reverb. And I was giving Cedrice a tour of the sanctuary, and we walked into the arena, and I told her that it was a great place if she needed to come in and sing. And she made me sit down and sang a song in the middle of this arena. And I knew right then and there I was going to ask her to do a concert for us. And I did. And she said that she would be thrilled to. And I can ramble on about a lot of things and repeat myself over and over and over again. But I wanted something more than just this face at our gala. And we have worked with so many amazing people over the years and built these phenomenal relationships with like-minded people that are doing incredible work, that it only made sense to me to invite those people out to brag about themselves. Because, you know, of course, a Kindness Ranch Gala, it's going to be to benefit the sanctuary. But if the sanctuary benefits from it, then hopefully all of that, you know, is dispersed evenly through all of the people that we've worked with over the years. Lori and Chelsey, and even my friend Justin from White Coat Waste, who I've had to distance myself from publicly. He's still a dear friend, and they are, despite their current stance on things, they are successful and they love animals. And for the first time in my 7 years of being the director at Kindness Ranch, the founder of the sanctuary, Dr. David Grubman, is going to make a public appearance. He's one of the most isolated people, secretive about his life that I've ever met. And he's going to come out and he's going to attend and may even take the microphone and say a few words as well. And another dear friend that I've worked with for over 10 years now, Brittany, she's been doing our social media for us for a while now. She started her own nonprofit in Southern California called Frost Fund, finding homes for animals that are on the red list or the euthanasia list at local county shelters out there. And she did so based on experiences that she'd had working with me and rescuing animals. And she's one of the most passionate people I've ever met. And all of these people deserve a chance to stand up and brag about the good work that they're doing. It's not all about Kindness Ranch. It's not all about me. Everything I do is literally built off the shoulders of people that came before me. And I'm just fortunate enough to take my favorite parts and the parts that worked for me and utilize them here, and hopefully share some of that success with everybody else that's working just as hard, if not harder. So I'm excited to get a lot of like-minded people in one room and, maybe over a couple of cocktails, solve all the world's problems.
Agreed. I agree. And as you're talking about Brittany's another friend of mine that we haven't met in person yet, and we're friends and we've had so many conversations. She's been on a town hall, as has Chelsey, and we haven't met. Brittany and I are texting each other going, can't wait, 2 months away, whatever. And so it'll be amazing. But that said, John, as humble as you are, I have to say, and this is not something that I am pretty sure that you never planned on this. I'm pretty damn sure. I'm almost 100% sure that you never planned on this. You have no idea the difference for animals you've made in Canada inadvertently by partnering with us, because the animals are ambassadors to what we do. These are the creatures that forgive the very species who have harmed them. They can never tell their story better. We will never be able to tell their story better than they can, by their forgiveness, their resilience, their ability to move forward. Dogs just do that. And if you didn't have the trust in us, we wouldn't be where we are in terms of having the opportunity and the privilege to place animals in the most incredible homes. I mean, we don't do this. We do the finagling, and the incredible fosters and adopters take on the work and bring a dog into their home sight unseen and work with the dog and work with Chelsey and work with us and really just trust in the process and go with it. So honestly, I don't think you ever thought that you would make the difference in Canada like you have in the US. I don't know that was ever on your freaking bucket list.
You say that as the woman that started the movement in Canada. There wouldn't have been anybody to partner with if you wouldn't have got the ball rolling to start with. So it's been an honor to be involved with the Beagle Alliance and helping however we can. Isn't that right?
Yes, Cami. I've had dinner with Cami, and we'll have dinner with Cami in a week and a half. Okay.
Cami was just bit by a rattlesnake a week ago.
What? I can't come to Kindness because I lose my mind over the rattlesnakes. I think I told you that, Chelsey. I'm like, I can't even go running.
You told me that the other day when Tony was here, my husband Tony, and Tony, when we're at Kindness Ranch, he just goes walking all around in that grass. And then you mentioned that, and then Cami got bit, and he's like, there's rattlesnakes. Like he had no idea. So thank God for you told him, because he just walks around and all that grass.
Oh no, I
had no idea.
Over. Brenda's probably listening right now. I kicked something over. I don't know what I kicked over off of our yurt, whatever. We're at the sanctuary, getting dog, whatever. And Brenda's like, don't touch that. There could be a rattlesnake in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, good point.
Well,
anyway,
if you need help finding them, Cami's really good at finding them. It's the second time she's been bit.
No, I can't. It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay. So we're at an hour, and I know that some people go a little bit squirrely at an hour. And so I appreciate if you guys want to leave, that's cool. I do have some stuff in the chat, and because it's a town hall, I'm really kind of more of a fan of people's voices and having your own like voice ask John anything, or myself or Chelsey, but mostly John. But I will read in the chat, and then B, if you don't mind watching with me the hands, if someone, because town halls by nature are all about people speaking themselves and us having an interchange. So I hate the mute thing when it comes to a town hall. But so if you want to ask John a question, or you have anything, about animals in research, Canada, the US, whatever you have on your mind, we're in. Raise your hand. B and I are watching. But Helen asks, I understand that it would depend on the dog, but do you have experience with or know if getting involved with a dog sport can be beneficial? We've had this question before. It's a great question. Scent work, obedience, the competitions themselves would probably be overstimulating. I'm just curious about how beneficial building the skills on scent work would be in a more private setting. So Chelsey, I'm going to get you to answer that. We've had that question before. And of course, after decompression, I think it's always an individual, but I would love for you to answer that.
Yeah, great question. And you're right. After decompression, I think there's like several different phases of this like process. Decompression to me is typically between like 3, 4, 5 weeks. And then after that is kind of what we're talking about here, which is like competence, curiosity, and connection, I call that. So like they pop their heads above water and they're like, wow, we're a dog. Look at this world. They're able to start taking in information. And in that case, there's almost nothing better than scent work, specifically for a beagle. It's super instinctual for them. It works the problem solving part of their brain. It works the reward seeking system part of their brain. And a lot of the time when you have a dog who is hyper vigilant, they are going to identify the novel things by their sight first. So that's why you may have a dog who sees something and they can't identify what it is, so they're super, super barky, and they don't use their nose, and their nose should be their primary scent. So helping them with any sort of scent work is going to build a ton of confidence. It's going to make them more resilient, build frustration tolerance, and it's like fun for them. I call them little Easter egg hunts, hiding little treats all over the house, or of course everyone's seen a snuffle mat, or a little treat burrito, whatever it is. But some scent work is something that I highly recommend you get your beagles working through, because they love food and they love using their noses, and it's something that they didn't always get an opportunity, if at all got an opportunity, to do in a research facility. And I think it's a great idea. I do agree those competitions are extremely overstimulating for myself, even as a human, but you can certainly do all of that stuff right in your own home or your own backyard or a park nearby or whatever. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to answer. Thank you, Chelsey and Helen. I'm going to answer your NDA question in a minute, Helen, because it kind of branches off that. But Chris and Tammy, it's so funny you guys are here. Your hand is up, and I was just thinking about you guys the other day, because you're always at our town halls, which I so appreciate. So I'm going to please unmute yourselves and chat, because I love when we can hear your voices, actually.
I'm just grateful that you're having this discussion with John, because he's so informative and articulative when it comes to rescuing these dogs and working with these facilities, and not shooting yourself in the foot to get these dogs out of these facilities. And it is a fine line that you have to walk. And I just appreciate everything that the sanctuary stands for and the staff, and just grateful that there's a place like that in the United States that actually does that. So I really appreciate, and he's kind of an idol of mine, if you'd say, just like maybe Steve Vai's an idol of John's. So,
awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
But I also want to say, so somebody wanted to say hi to you, because she knew that.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is
Oh
so
my gosh.
awesome, Chris. Yeah, this is so awesome, Chris.
Oh,
This is little Katori that we
Yeah.
got from the sanctuary, and it's been 3 years now, and
That's
she's doing
amazing.
really well. And we've had a lot of memories with her and continue to make memories. And she just wanted to say hi to John.
Yeah.
oh,
Love
I'm
it.
so appreciative, Chris. It's good to see you again, my
She was
friend.
one of the Texas Six.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Love it. This is the family, right? Like this is
Yeah.
what this is the family. And I say this to people all the time is that when, let's face it, if you have a former research dog, you're in the minority of rescues, and it's really nice to have a community. And Chelsey and I have some plans on that going forward. And um, it's just nice to come together as a community and to be able to walk ourselves through it, because they're not the regular rescues, and it takes a lot of patience and love. And Chris, well, I was going to say I don't want to speak for John, but I guess I am kind of speaking a little bit for John a little bit. But you guys have no idea how grateful we are for you guys. You guys do the heavy lifting, man. I just want you to know
100%.
that. You guys do the heavy lifting.
I don't know about that, but we're grateful for it and everything like that. And I mean, the rescues mean a lot, especially to me and my wife. I went ahead and I got a sleeve done all in memory of adopting Katori. Got her number that was tattooed
Yeah.
in her ear. It's good enough for
Amazing.
her. It's good enough for me. I wear it proudly wherever I go. And it just means a lot. So I'm involved with you guys and Kindness Ranch, Great Coast White Project. And I just kind of follow everybody that's, involved in getting these dogs. And a real shout out to getting those dogs out of China, because I believe that was probably the end for them, that they were going into the meat market, and they weren't going to survive if it wasn't for the organizations involved and everybody coming together to make that possible, to get those dogs out of there. So
They're double survivors for sure.
They're
And
double
Yes.
survivors. Yeah.
the first
Absolutely.
group that's here right now are the most incredible dogs. I went up and hung out with them for quite a little while today, and it's amazing, as Lori said, the forgiveness that these dogs show. I showed up and every one of them come running right up to me, tail wagging, bright-eyed, and just wanted affection. And my screen is showing up with all of these amazing beagles on it right now. This is so amazing.
I love it. Chris, Chris, you need to try to come to the fundraiser. Okay. Like I need to hug you in person. So just throwing that out there.
well, that's in October, right? Is that correct?
October
October
18th. John and I were like October 18th. Denver, Colorado.
I'll see what I can do for that.
Please do. I would
Okay.
love to see you in person. Yeah, that would be amazing. Clay, I see your hand is up. But you have to unmute yourself. I don't think I can unmute you. Clay, okay, hold on, because I'm terrible with Teams. So if you go, B, where do you unmute? I can't even, I don't even know.
It should be in the top right of your
Oh,
screen, I
top
think.
right where it says mic. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
little
click the
mic.
mic, yeah. If you see the little microphone, if you click it, you should have a slash as going down, which means you're muted. So if you click it at the top right, then it's off. And then we can hear you. But if you don't see it, you
they're
could go in the
frozen.
chat. Maybe you're frozen. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to you for a moment. I'm just gonna answer I'm gonna answer a question on NDAs. because there's a question about is there still an NDA about the research dogs and what was done. I think this is more focused on St. Joseph's healthcare in London. So yes, I guess this is an interesting case because it was a whistleblower that came forward. Animal justice, of course, in Canada, if you know about animal justice, then you're going to know that they broke the story along with the very brave whistleblowers. And so there was a lot disclosed on what was being done, the heart attacks that were being induced on these dogs, etc. So that, of course, is out there, right? With regards to NDAs, a non-disclosure, we've worked a lot with non-disclosure agreements, and I think John and I have had this discussion over the years, but I guess when I worked for an organization in the United States, a non-disclosure agreement came into play much more frequently, simply because there would be instances where we would have to ask fosters not to post about the dogs. So they were not permitted to go on social media about the dogs because it was a whistleblower would be in jeopardy, etc. And if the dogs' faces were posted on social media, then that could cause some issues for the whistleblower. So there would be an NDA in place. The Beagle Alliance has NDAs ready to go. They are in place. We have not, I'm trying to think, and maybe B could correct me. I don't think we've had to, I think maybe we've had to use an NDA maybe in the very beginning to protect an organization. In the very beginning, maybe in 2022 early. Other than that, we've been given permission with whichever partner we're working with or organization that we can post the photos and it wouldn't get back. I think with regard to answer the question with regard to St. Joseph, I mean, I think it's gone far beyond an NDA. Quite frankly, the public knows the whistleblowers came forward. It's an outright expose, if you will. I think that the only way that an NDA would be in place is if the Animal Care Committee came back to us. And of course, as you guys know, we're in contact with them. But if they came back to us and said, we would prefer that these dogs stay off social media or et cetera, et cetera. If they had conditions attached to the release of the dogs, obviously an NDA would come into play because we're not going to risk a release of dogs simply because we wanted to post them on social media or something like that. Obviously, the priority would be the release into homes for the dogs. And that, I think, is if they had a stipulation on that, an NDA would come into place. I'm not entirely sure that that would happen at this point in my own, that's my own personal opinion, simply because this has already been an expose and I'm not really sure how much worse it could get for St. Joseph's. Unless they don't release the dogs, of course, then it would get worse. But I hope that answers the question, but there's definitely a place for NDAs, and it's usually, I mean, really, it's to protect two factions. It's either to protect the whistleblower, which of course makes sense, and sometimes it's to protect the laboratory. However, in most cases, when you're protecting the laboratory, you're doing it because you want to protect the dogs and you want to secure their release, and therefore it's worth the NDA, I guess. And John, I'd love you to chime in on that, but
just to expand on the hospital and the expose and everything that's done there. I don't know the ins and outs as clearly as you do, but it's been my experience in facilities like that there's multiple levels of information that is protected. And if, say, for instance, you're dealing with a hospital in the States that is trialing, second level research for vaccines or painkillers, or a recent one that I was dealing with was medication for incontinence. The facility themselves have to have an NDA with that chemical or biomedical manufacturer, that they won't release what tests were being done. And then the facility will have me sign an NDA saying that I won't release where I got the dogs from. So by design, there's multiple layers of protection there. A recent release that we got with a bunch of cats out of UC Davis in California, that was a very public expose done on their feline breeding facility and the atrocities that were going on there. When I asked them if we could go public with that release, their response was, yes, we'll consider it the beginning of our retribution tour.
Wow.
Because for them, it was damage control, showing, okay, you caught us and now we did the right thing and we're going to try and do the right thing moving forward. So there's the side of that maybe the hospital will look at too. Like, we got caught, so look at us now, we did the right thing. And I've had some facilities ask me if I'll share on our social media that this facility is making leaps and bounds on the care for their animals. And I've got some facilities that I work with down along the Gulf Coast that the NDA I have with them is one of the most strict I've ever had. And they've turned around their facility to the point that they have, if they ever wanted to turn it into a sanctuary, it would be a beautiful place. They have a hydrotherapy pool for physical therapy for their dogs. They have a dedicated socialization team. They have amazing dogs that are coming out of there, and they're seriously trying to do good work. They went to a completely no-kill research facility. Every dog that they have on their property right now will be released to us in the next 18 months and able to put into homes. They're actually really, really trying to do good work by these dogs while still testing on them, unfortunately. But it's the tides are turning, and
Yes.
I sincerely believe that everything that you're going through right now in Canada, you're the trailblazer on this one. And every animal release for the next decade is going to be modeled off of how this one is handled. So, it's important that it's handled with the delicacy it deserves, for sure.
Well, thank you for scaring me greater in a greater way, John. Appreciate that.
Misery loves company.
Yeah.
Lori.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that because as much as we wish that animal testing wasn't happening personally, we professionally know that it happens, and all we can do is attempt to contribute to the reduction of harm. And also, let's face it, we definitely see these dogs go on to live incredible lives and lose their past. And I think that you and Chelsey and I and Bea and Brenda, who, we see the dogs right out of the laboratory, and then we get to be blessed witnesses to the progression by staying in touch with our fosters and adopters, which is part of the incredible, I don't know, it's just kind of an incredible part of the job, I guess, that we get to see the progression of the dogs all the time.
Bittersweet for sure.
Yeah, and we get to see that. But it's true though that the tides are turning, and I mean, John, we've even seen in the last couple of years dogs come out of the laboratory where we're like, we can't believe that they're actually behaving like this, like they're socialized, and we're not gonna, it doesn't matter whether we agree with animal testing or not. The fact is the dogs, we've seen some pretty traumatized dogs. And then when we see a laboratory that is doing something differently, regardless of whether we agree with animal testing or not, that's not the point. Our job is to rehome them and get them into great homes. When we see them come out of a laboratory and they're already warming up to each other and interacting with humans, etc. I mean, maybe it's not the end result that we want to see, but it's a lot of steps, and it's still a blessing to see that change.
100%. And, you know, having the all or nothing standpoint on this, as much as I would personally love to see an end to all animal testing now, there's people that are saying that the best outcome to this would be to end animal testing and just euthanize all of the animals, because I've been criticized recently that the fact that I'm rehoming the animals is enabling further testing.
The laboratories. But we get that all the time.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Where we're part of the problem.
Yeah. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that for the last 10 years of my life, I've been doing nothing but just trying to raise awareness through my actions and having conversations with people that I inherently disagree with. And, you know, I've shown up on the front door of a research facility, actually the one that Chris and his dog, or Chris's dog, came out of. I showed up at their front door and talked with them about the work that I did. They had been in business since 1956 and never once released a live animal from their facility because they didn't know they could.
Yeah.
And since I've been in touch with those people, they've given us over 200 dogs and over 100 cats. And we're actually in line to get a bunch of cats from them here soon. And the owner of the facility forwards me emails from his team thanking him for working with us. He said his staff retention has gone up, the morale has improved, they now have a socialization team, and he told me moving into 2026, they'll also become a no-kill animal testing facility. And they've done that all since 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And the awareness is key. So I personally am much more satisfied with the small incremental steps of improvement and awareness to there was a study done out of Baltimore last year that said with the improvements in AI and biochip modeling, that all animal testing on dogs and cats will be phased out within the next 10 to 12 years. And if that's the case, then we've got 10 to 12 years to hopefully find homes for about 44,000 dogs in the States that are being born into research right now. And if we do away with all testing on cats and dogs in the next 10 to 12 years, that tells me that there's a chance that every beagle and every domestic house cat that is born into a life of research right now can stand the chance of finding their way into a home outside of research during their lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's a huge step for me.
It is.
And you know, if I can live long enough to see an end to testing on cats and dogs, then
Amen, John.
I'll feel
Agreed.
like I've lived a life with purpose.
I agree. I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future of all animal testing, and there's going to always be an argument. But I agree that I think that if we can see the end of, if I die and the end of testing on dogs and cats happens, I'm good. Like I will pass the baton on for the rest of it, but I am good. And I'm with you on that. And I think that given the milestone that we're going to hit at Kindness in October, we can handle 44,000. So we can figure that out. Anyway, okay.
We'll have
Ken,
Chelsey on speed dial.
well, yeah, exactly. I shouldn't have said that out loud in public, but anyway, Ken, sorry, it's 5 to 9. And I just really, I mean, if you guys are good, we're good, but I don't want to keep you guys because this is crazy. And John and Chelsey, you guys, B is manning this, like we're, I just appreciate you guys, but Ken, go ahead. Clay, you're next. I just want to say, and Brandy, I see you, but somebody shouted out to Brittany. Awesome. Yes, Debbie, John is no slouch as a musician. He is a legit musician. So when he says that he's is shouting out about other musicians, he's awesome himself. That was a comment. So anyway, Ken, go ahead, please.
Sure. I think Clay's ahead of me if they want to go first.
Oh,
Yeah.
by all means, we're going to
Okay,
get to
sorry.
both of you.
We had a little
So go for
technical
it.
difficulty earlier
That's
when
okay.
we shut us
Go
down,
for
but we're back. And
Okay.
I've got Reggie wants to say hi to John. He's a little Kindness Ranch Beagle we adopted there and absolutely adore him. We have
Amazing.
two lab beagles. But my question is, well, first, the awareness issue. Daily, I walk the dogs and people go, oh, your beagles are so cute. And I tell them their story, their research dogs. And daily people say, I didn't know they did research on dogs. And so I feel like even though, like in Vigo a couple years ago, that got some public awareness broadly here in the States, but I still find that there's not as much awareness as I would like. And daily I meet people that are just seem to be shocked by it. So I have a question for John or you, Lori, like how do we as people of the public, we're not on the front lines like you, but what suggestions do you have how we can help in this area? Because I don't know if there's ideas you could post on your website for us adopters or what we could do to possibly further the awareness issue.
I think you are on the front lines, quite frankly. You guys are our people on the front lines. And I think that just having you have no idea what it means. You're spreading awareness by having that dog. Your family members know, your neighbors know, the people you talk to down the street. You are the grassroots movement. You are it. And if you think you're not on the front lines, my friend, you are our first defense. And we
Well,
are so grateful. And you just talk about it all day long. And when you meet people, you just say, this beagle's from there. It depends on your comfort zone, obviously. But I think you are on the front lines. And I think you guys do an incredible job already by having that dog and the reach that you have is more than you know.
Oh, 100%. One of the biggest battles that I face is I put up a post on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. And the people that see that predominantly are the people that already follow us and are in our little feedback loop. So I literally become preaching to the choir.
mm-hmm.
As a middle-aged, stubborn man myself, I find myself struggling to look for information that is outside of my comfort zone sometimes. And especially being based out here in Hartville, Wyoming, population 64 people, I don't get the opportunity to really go into town and have new discussions with the locals. So what you're doing by being out and having that exposure with a former research beagle and having those conversations, that is better than any paid advertising that Kindness Ranch could ever do.
Exactly.
My personal focus when it comes to sharing what we do and allowing people to have that exposure to former research animals is all of the teen camps that we have out here at the sanctuary. We work with several youth organizations that come out with kids between 13 and 18 years old. And my focus is on allowing them that exposure to go out and pet a cow, lay down and scratch the belly on a pig, hang out with the beagles, take some for a walk, hang out with the horses. All of that means that these 14-year-old kids in 4 years, when there's legislation on the books to dissolve unnecessary animal testing, to stop testing on cats and dogs, these kids have had that exposure when they were thirsty for knowledge, and they can make that informed decision on whether or not to vote to end animal testing. Because my dad, as much as I love that man, I'm never going to change his mind. And I'm just as stubborn as he is. And my dad, he thinks that it's necessary. My dad also thinks that we should kill all wolves. He's not so silently ashamed that I'm a vegan animal rights guy living in Wyoming. But knowing that I'm not going to change his mind allows me to just move away from people my age or older unless they want to have that conversation. And I'll gladly teach the next generation that what we're doing may not be the best. So feel free to vote that out and improve the world off of our example. So that's my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Can I say
Thank
one thing
you.
in here?
Yeah, of course.
As you start to learn about research animals in general, and as the public learns about these dogs, it's very hard to not get sucked into the negative of all of it, what's happening at the labs, and we're so upset about it and we want to like change it. But I think what's great about, you know, what John and Lori are saying here, you guys are talking and giving us a really good behind the scenes look at all the hard work that you do that the general public doesn't see. The general public doesn't know anything about NDAs and why you need them, or all the negotiating you have to do with the labs and the relationships you have to have with them. So what I try to communicate when I talk about this to people is, again, we're links in this chain. And if we get sucked into the, did you guys know about animal testing? Look how terrible it is. Watch these videos. Like that is more dangerous for the dogs. And I think that spreads awareness the wrong way. So I try to tell people, if we want to spread awareness, like share the Kindness Ranch Facebook posts, like share the Beagle Alliance posts, you know, follow them, talk about what the work that they're doing, because the change is going to come from the Loris and the Johns of this world who are doing everything behind the scenes. And our job is to do our job here, and not spread the word in a way by like the best intentions of ourselves, but that actually make things worse here. So I wanted to mention that, and also say, like, I do appreciate you sharing with everyone all the behind the scenes stuff that you do, because as much as these dogs aren't regular research dogs, your organizations are not regular rescue organizations. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that people don't know about, and it's refreshing to be able to sit here and listen to it, that you guys are doing the hard work that we don't know, and sometimes you probably can't tell us what exactly is going on, but it's good to know there are people out there doing all of that stuff, and like we're here to support whenever you're ready for us.
Thank you, Chelsey. Appreciate that. Because John, would you agree that I think that's where we meet? And I don't want it, I want to address, I want everyone to speak, but I think where John and I meet is that we're not into shaming the labs. We're not into protesting. We're not into going against. I don't want to speak for John. I'm going to ask John to agree or disagree or add, but we're not here to go against. We're here to work with. And I am a fundamental believer that collaboration is the key to everything. We are meant on this earth to work together. And in a world and in two countries who have most recently politically gone against each other and been divided, and in my own country, which has been divided since COVID, the animals and specifically the dogs are one area that can bring us together. And I can't see a better way to bring us together than the love for the animals and the dogs. And I just want to focus on that. I want to, yes, animal testing happens. Yes, we might not agree with it. Yes, 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 and yes. But man, don't you guys just want to see the good news videos and stories of the dogs that are released and how incredible their lives end up being when they are? Those are the stories I want to tell.
100%. Yeah. You know, one of the promises that I make to research facilities when I'm working with them is that my job is to try and protect them from people like me. And whatever it takes for them to feel comfortable with giving me those animals when they're no longer needed in research, I'll sign any NDA. I'll jump through whatever hoops possible to get that first group of dogs out and show them that it doesn't hurt their bottom line.
To release them. Yeah.
Yeah. And once I get that, then the rest of it is easy. You know, I send them Christmas cards. I ask them how their kids are doing. I build these relationships with them, and looking at these adversaries in a human light is challenging at times. I don't agree with what they're doing 99.9% of the time. The 0.01% of the time that I do agree with what they're doing is when they give me their animals.
Exactly. 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 That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But we walk a thin line. And you know, when you and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, it's weird because you have this very I don't know, I think we just ended up with this responsibility to hold the short term and the long term gain at the same time. And when you have to do that, you are going to piss someone off somewhere along the line. You just are. Someone is not going to get it. And you and
you know the ones that I've pissed off along the way.
And because you can't always disclose things, you have to live in a world that you accept that, hey, someone's going to yell at you the words, get those dogs out now. Why can't you get them out now? Or what's your problem? What's all the things, right? But you are always holding in the short term, the dogs that are in the laboratory right now and making sure you get them out. And in the long term, the dogs that are going to be there, that you need to have the relationship with the laboratory to get those ones out. It's this balancing act. Always.
I'll tell one more funny story, and then I think we should take another couple of questions before it gets too late. But
yes,
I was in Richmond, Virginia, and my wife and I were shopping. It was the night before the second release of Beagles from Envigo, and I had received several phone calls from the Humane Society of the United States, from the Department of Justice, that there were several lawsuits being filed to prevent me from getting dogs from Envigo because some people felt that we weren't qualified. They felt that I shouldn't have been involved to begin with and that I stepped on their toes. And you know some of the background on this, Lori. But I was so devastated because I just wanted to help the dogs. That's my entire purpose for being out there. And I couldn't believe that there were people that were so against help that they would actually file lawsuits and slander me publicly. And the founder of the sanctuary, Dr. Grubman, called me And he said, I hear you're having a hard time with some of this negative feedback. And I was like, well, yeah, wouldn't you? And he said, I used to. He was just, I want you to know that the entire board backs you, your decisions, and how you're handling this. And please remember that no degree of success can be attained without an equal amount of opposition. And he said, in my point of view, you've made it. You have become successful with Kindness Ranch farther than I ever dreamed possible, and we're grateful for you. And that was such an encouraging thing to hear, because looking back on it, if we were successful enough at our earlier missions like that, that people wanted to be involved and were upset that they couldn't be and lashed out, then not that we're doing something right. I don't set out every day to purposely piss somebody off, but it means that the momentum that we're gaining and the traction that we're getting in doing things the best way we know how, in the most inclusive nature we know how, it must be somewhat contagious. It brought us all here tonight to have our own little therapy sessions.
Exactly.
But I couldn't be more excited about this movement, and it's bigger than the sum of its parts. This is a huge tidal shift that I'm grateful that we can bear witness to and help. You know, we're moving away from the needless torture of animals, and I think that that's just a phenomenal thing to be a small part of. So anyway, there I am on my soapbox again, rambling on.
I agree. No, I'm with you. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. And we could probably talk forever. So who did we miss? Ken?
Hi.
Hi.
Just wanted to say great job presenting. Lots of useful information. And I do have a couple quick things to clarify. And that's one is with the NDAs and the employment contracts. Does that make it so employees can't make affidavits that can be used in court, or is that just about going public? Is there a difference there anyone's aware of?
Oh, like our NDAs, or do you mean what, I'm sorry, like the NDAs?
Well, just in general, if you have an NDA in an employment contract, I think that it prevents you from making an affidavit and using the information from work in court. And I'm just
yeah, no, that's a good question. John, you can answer this as well, but the NDAs I'm speaking with is that on occasion we will issue an NDA specific to our fosters, asking them not to post anything on social media or things like that in the event that the laboratory would be outed and therefore not release any further dogs to us, etc. But if I'm not answering your question correctly, please, by all means, clarify.
No, that's fine. I'm just, like I said, it was just a general clarification. I'm not so much concerned about like releasing information publicly as I am like, as it prevents them from actually making an affidavit that can be entered into like a court lawsuit or anything along that lines. Whether it's an employee of yours or a foster or even an employee at the hospital, they might be able to come out and give out information, but to actually for them to be able to use it in court, I'm just wondering if that NDA would come into play and prevent that.
Oh, I see. I'll be honest with you. From what I'm told from both lawyers in the United States and Canada, NDAs usually don't hold up anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Flat out, I'll tell you that. I've been told that by lawyers in the US and Canada.
We put it out. NDAs definitely don't hold up anywhere. But as far as employment NDAs from the research facilities themselves, if if an employee from a facility such as the hospital or a research center here in the States were to go public with everything that they saw, they would, of course, be blacklisted from ever working in the industry again, and retribution, retaliation, lawsuits up the wazoo for them going public. But in the case of like Envigo, an NDA does not protect the facility from an employee in a criminal investigation. So as the lawyers were interviewing and deposing the staff at Envigo during a criminal investigation, they were required by law to be forthcoming about everything that they knew. And if they withheld any information, then they themselves would face criminal charges. So if there's criminal acts at play, NDAs are thrown completely out the window during an investigation.
Perfect. And the other thing, it's for John. It sounds like you have a lot of experience around the U.S., and I'm just wondering, is there any incidents where these things going public sort of thing have driven the research and stuff more into secrecy and stuff? I'm just curious if it kind of goes, instead of things getting more exposed, it kind of goes the other way, and that, these guys kind of make a plan to, make sure they got all their bases covered to keep things more secretive.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and it's unfortunate that it goes that way. There was an incident about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, where a supporter of ours who adopted a dog from us tracked down several research facilities in their home state, and they wrote up a petition and had a bunch of friends and people online sign this petition, and they went to several research facilities and handed them the petition. And just those facilities being confronted like that, and one of the facilities that she approached was one that typically released animals to us about every 90 days or so. And they thought that we gave this person their information, and they went over a year without giving us any animals because they felt like we violated their trust, and we had absolutely nothing to do with it. And in an instance like that, it's hard to be upset, because I would love nothing more than to go around to every testing facility and tell them to close their doors. But the effect that this person had was the exact opposite of what I know that they wanted to have. And to be blunt, they going about it in such a reckless nature accidentally probably led to the euthanasia of a good number of animals that would have otherwise been released. It took me over a year to build that relationship back up with this facility. It was really disheartening. And although I understand why people do things like that, it makes it really difficult for me to regain that trust with the facilities once it's even perceived the slightest bit to have been broken like that.
Yeah, I would like to comment on that as well in terms of an NDA, and well, maybe not, but as a tipping off point of what John said is that I have literally been witness to somebody breaching an NDA by an organization, posting on Facebook about a certain number of dogs being rescued out of a laboratory with no details of the state or the laboratory. Of course, I'm talking the United States. I used to work for an organization in the United States prior to founding the Beagle Alliance. So a lot of my experience comes from that as well. And 40 dogs were euthanized and not given up to us because of one Facebook post, because it got to someone at the laboratory. And so I've had many people question, my diligence with NDAs and my diligence with, being discreet. And it's not because I'm paranoid. It's because, as John mentioned, we've seen it happen. It just takes one, what somebody would think is a very, very benign statement to end a relationship, a very delicate relationship, and end the lives of many animals. And so we do our due diligence.
We do
So-
our best to, anyway.
We do our best. Yeah, we do our best. Exactly. Brandy and Kelly, I think you guys are together. Are you guys there and going to talk?
Where are they?
Hello. Sorry.
Hi. These guys. Okay, so
Technical
let
difficulties.
me be transparent. These
Okay.
two are on our board.
Hi, guys.
And
Hi.
and Brandy's an adopter of
Great.
a former
Of this
research
guy,
beagle.
Abby.
Yeah,
Oh.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
My question was around actually what Clay had mentioned just about outreach, and my role is to help with public education. And so I'm curious as to what John specifically with Kindness Ranch, like, do you have educational initiatives or public outreach initiatives that you have your people working on? And if so, what does that look like?
What I'm about to say is going to sound incredibly underhanded, probably, but the outreach that we have is I focus on experiential education out
Okay.
here. And what I've tried really hard to position ourselves as, you heard me say earlier that the teenage demographic and having them come out and have an experience at the sanctuary. We're making a switch to renewable energies and having a bunch of solar power out here. We work with construction trade schools and have them come out with kids and build enrichment activities for our goats and pigs and stuff like that. And that way we become kind of a trade-oriented training facility that has the happy side effect of also having former research animals. And once people are on the property, they're kind of a captive audience, and we can explain about animal research and why we feel it's wrong. And look at how amazing these animals are. Please pet our cow. It becomes kind of a much broader scope. And I'll be 100% honest, one of the reasons I wanted to go that way is because it opens us up to more grant money, having all of that experiential stuff.
Kelly's all over that right now. She's nodding her head. But you know what, John, don't you agree though? I mean, and I think we all agree. Sorry, and I hope I didn't cut you off, but I think we could all agree here. I mean, we're all like middle-aged people here, and the children of our lives are the future lawmakers, advocates,
100%.
consumers, lawyers. I mean, it is up to us to teach them so that they carry the baton into the world to make change into the future world.
100%. And one of the things that I'm caught with, you mentioned lawyers, and it just got my mind reeling a little bit, because I hear all of the time from parents that come out here with their kids, this is my son, this is my daughter, they want to be a veterinarian, they want to do this, they want to help animals. And I try and tell them the world, we might not have enough good veterinarians, but we've got a lot. Send them into public relations, because it was public relations that drove drunk driving death statistics absolutely plummeting. A solid worldwide, or at least nationwide, public relation campaign raising awareness about animal testing could end this problem in 6 years. We need a unified approach on how to raise awareness for this. And I don't have the answers. That's why I say to teach these kids some good PR skills and get a good media campaign behind it. And again, this is for radio. This isn't for a billboard someplace. So,
The only ones for billboard are beagles. None of us need to be on a billboard. None of us want to be on a billboard. Okay, guys,
yeah.
it's literally, this is the longest town hall we've ever had. Kelly, are you good? I don't want to cut you off, Kelly and Brandy.
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
I'm currently working with public school education in the curriculum at a high school level, where in biology they study, they do a unit on ethics. And so in conjunction with the teachers, bringing in the Beagle Alliance information and animal welfare and testing, because the kids go through active dissection still. And so the conversation is that starting at the school level is like, what are we morally and ethically, like what position do we take when we ask 1,000 students to engage in dissection, right?
Exactly.
And with the world is the way it is, animals are a really good conduit to teach kids empathy.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's not a hot topic, and the kids can experience active empathy. And so there's a real opportunity, I think, for education and outreach. And public schools need our support, both in Canada and in the United States. And I've had nothing but there's some red tape for sure, but there's really an interest into receiving support for science programs, and the grants in Canada. There is a ton of grant money to get to put programs together.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of in the conceptual phases of what does
We're
that
working
actively
on
look
it. Yeah.
well, what does
Yeah.
it look like beyond the classroom? Like me
Yeah.
doing a lecture with PowerPoints is one thing, but it's not actively engaging the kids in the process. So we started a campaign, a cruelty-free cosmetics campaign with the high schools. And I had some girls put together a program where they shared the app on all their social media of how to check at Sephora what cosmetics were not used on beagles, right? Like that kind of stuff is really grassroots. But beyond that, what does it look like? How can we engage kids specifically? Because like you said, they're going to be policymakers in the future.
Yeah.
To create a moral understanding of what humane education looks like around use of animals in science.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you just to have you hold Lori to account on this.
Great.
Have
Let me just pull out my to-do list, John.
Yeah. Just add it to I'll do it. She doesn't need to do it.
I'll add another column to the to-do.
Have Lori get a hold of our mutual friend Brittany, who her sister did her doctoral thesis on the connection between children learning empathy from animals and how being denied that animal connection can lead to them becoming more mentally unstable as adults.
Antisocial behavior.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, plus,
Yeah.
I did work in jail for 10 years, so I do understand.
There's a lot of
That's one of the things we
opportunities.
have in common, Lori.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yes, I will
But-
hit Brittany up. That's a
Yeah,
great, that's awesome.
Her sister Brooke is
Okay.
a phenomenal resource for
Okay.
that.
We have a
It's
grant.
literally what she specializes in.
Awesome. We have a
Okay.
grant due on the 30th.
Yeah. Okay. In
So
other words,
I'm
get on
writing.
it, Lori.
Yeah, I'm writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
All the kids
guys,
with Lori,
I'm
you're
going to
busy.
say this. I'm just going to say this. This is 100% the longest town hall we've ever had, for sure. So,
2 hours.
John, 2 hours.
Thank
We're
you,
hitting 2
John.
hours. John, cannot thank you enough. Truly, as usual,
And
amazing.
Chelsey. Wow.
And Chelsey, thank you so much, because I kind of threw this at you, not John and I both hit you up online without you even knowing. So just thank you. And honestly, I'm so grateful to be partners with you both. And I know that Brandy and Kelly can agree, and most definitely Bea and Brenda would agree. And I mean, it's just, there's nothing like having a support system like you guys. And of course, thank you to everyone who fosters, adopts, supports, shares everything. And of course, everyone who shows up at our town halls, like, obviously this is how it's going to work. We all just have to come together. So thank you,
100%.
John. I know you just got off the road. I know how tired you are because I talked to you while you were on the road, and I'm so thankful. I'll see you in a week and a half. Chelsey, I'll see you in a week and a
See you in a
half.
week and a half. Yeah.
And John, I have one last question before we leave. At the gala, are you going to play a tune?
Yes.
I knew it. Okay. Everyone, my phone will be out. Anyway, love you guys. Can't thank you
Thank you
enough.
so much for
Truly.
having me.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.